we're live. Sorry we don't have an intro yet. That will be coming by next week, I promise. I feel like I'm a little low in my chair. Sorry we got started a little late. We've just been it's been issues all around.
It's been a day.
Yeah, we lost power over here. And it's been nutty. So I'm just gonna have to deal with being a little low today.
I'm having the opposite problem where I can't get my chair to go lower.
I don't know what happened. Hey, Wild Marjoram, glad you could join us.
Welcome.
So we are talking about season 1, episode 2, The Way Things Are Now, which I had to laugh at that title because it's just like such a it's just so kind of tropey and stereotypical and like, you know, I think we've heard some form of that phrase like about 300 times on The Walking Dead.
Yeah. Just about.
So I kind of had to I just had to laugh at that. But they did something interesting. They I kind of like when shows do this when they open with something that comes later in the episode.
Yeah, the cold open being, I said it's the definition of yes, girl, give us nothing. Like it's something coming up, but it's disconnected to anything we know about. And I love that. It just opens the show with a little dash of mystery.
Yeah.
Like clearly something went down and it was not good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's basically just, like, I mean, he's out. Kenny's out there like a crazed lumberjack, just
wailing.
Yeah, just going to town on this tree with an axe. We're still in the
RV.
And the last time we saw Ethan, he was kind of starting to go into seizures. They hear some voices outside, and they're asking if everyone's okay in there, and they're offering to help. And Jim is thinking, it's the townspeople. They're they
people coming back here. I think he thinks it's the people who left Cautry and Kenny. He says they came back, and
yeah.
It's not that, buddy.
And Boyd's just like, great, I gotta deal with this now.
I'm surprised how long it took them to explain to him what was going on, because I feel like it just probably would have gone over easier if they were like, I don't know, maybe they have the experience, not me, so maybe they know people aren't as receptive to hearing it's monsters.
Yeah.
But
yeah, for sure. It's I mean, Jim kind of got the short end of the stick there as far as like the way he found out. Like it was a little more gradual with Tabitha and Julie. Granted, they were a little traumatized by being tied up and having like guns in their faces, but they still were like, I mean, it was like by the time Donna sat down and talked to Tabitha, it was kind of like the foundation had been laid already. So Boyd is basically just trying to restrain Jim.
He gets him in a headlock so fast.
Yeah, he really did.
Two moves and he's disabled.
And meanwhile, in another area, Kenny is leading the group that he's in to Colony House. It's pouring rain. The tires were blown out, so they're trying to make it through the rain, and then Jade is just unconscious.
Yeah.
He's like, so they've got dead weight to carry around. Father Cautry's trying to drag him along with Kenny. And then we see somebody ring the bell and yell, runners on the hill, which didn't make a lot of sense. Like, I don't understand this whole thing.
Like, I think it's because, not to like jump ahead, but Kenny mentions in the episode later on that the monsters never run. They only ever walk.
Oh,
so I think them knowing that they're people running means that it's like a live people, whether they're friendly or unfriendly.
Okay.
That's
I was just wondering like why they were, it just seemed strange to me that that it was being announced that way. And like, but yeah, okay, that makes sense. But Fatima, obviously being the wonderful angel that she is, tries to let them in, but the dude standing guard is like, hell no. I'm a big old coward, and I'm not gonna let you save these people's lives. And Donna, like the creatures start, hey, good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. But yeah, you haven't watched the show yet. Just watch the first 3 episodes, and you'll be caught up with us for next week, because this is episode 2. So
it's not hard to get through 3 episodes.
Yeah. But so the creatures start approaching, and one of them actually talks to Julie, and he's like, Julie, don't you recognize me? And she like looks at this kid kind of like, what the fuck?
He's wearing like very old-timey clothes. Like, I feel like that should have been a dead giveaway that no, I don't recognize him, but
yeah.
It's Julie.
Yeah. But did you notice, by the way, that the t-shirt that she's wearing, I thought it was interesting. It says illusion.
No, on it. I didn't notice that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying for the longest time to figure out what was on it. And because it looks kind of like scribbles. But yeah, I think I can't remember. I want to say it's a bird or something, maybe. And then it says illusion.
Interesting.
But yeah, so they argue about letting him in. Donna finally puts her foot down and lets them inside, but she orders Tabitha and Julie to be tied up because that's part of their protocol and they have to follow protocol. So obviously they're freaking out, and Ellis doesn't want to tie them up because he's also an angel. And Fatima's just like, Alice, come on, we just got to do it. So back
honestly,
at the RV,
it makes sense. Excuse me, it makes sense protocol wise. Like, people are gonna freak out.
It does, yeah. I mean, like, these people are gonna be scared either way. Like, who knows how they're gonna react? Like, they could start panicking and they could be like a much worse Randall situation, and we'll get to Randall in season 2. But
exactly.
But so back at the RV, Jim is asking Boyd and Kristi, like, what are these things, these creatures? Because Boyd had told them they're not people. We'll try to make you think that they're people, but they're not. Ethan then wakes up, and Kristi immediately sedates him to try to settle him down. And then back in Colony House, by the way, the actor that plays Jim, I loved him so much in this scene. Like,
he's really great.
Yeah, I just like, I know I was texting you like about problems I had with the character, but I just loved him in this whole RV scene with Ethan. I thought like he was so great with the kid that plays Ethan.
Like the worry and concern are very sincere. Like I think he does he really kills those first handful of scenes. Like,
yeah,
he's good
really
actor. The whole cast is great, but yeah. Props to Jim.
They're all awesome. But so back in Colony House, Ellis ties Jade to a bed, and we see Trudy, who's like one of the most annoying people.
Ready to steal.
Oh, God, Trudy.
Ready to pull a watch off an unconscious guy.
Yep.
She's a hoot.
Yeah. She's admiring Jade and his watch. And she said, his watch is so pretty, and so is he. And Ellis stops her from stealing Jade's watch. And she's like, I'm just gonna sit here and look at him for a while.
I get it, girl. Understandable. He is a handsome man.
Yeah, he is, for sure. So Donna then approaches Tabitha, and I want to point out something that I've noticed very recently. I'd say very recently, but everything's very recently because I just started watching this show less than a month ago. But something I've picked up recently, it seems like Tabitha seems to almost always be in white.
Oh, you're right. Like, I actually didn't notice it, but I 100% can, I agree. Yeah.
I noticed that
always in white.
Yeah, Tabitha is almost always in white. And I also noticed that there are a lot of stripes and plaids in the show, and those seem to be like the only two patterns, and they're just repeated consistently, which I think I just thought that was really interesting.
I had to pay more attention to the wardrobe on this watch through, because that's something I've just let wash right over me. So Ellis makes Trudy promise him that she won't touch anything while she's admiring Jade. So Donna has Tabitha in the room that Tabitha and Julie are being kept separate. And Donna goes to talk to Tabitha. And Tabitha is just screaming for Julie. I'm sorry, were you going to say something? It was Tabitha attempting to run in this scene.
Oh,
is crazy to me. Because you saw the house. It's a house full of people who are armed. Where are you gonna go? What was the further? I get it because it's her kid, but also maybe you just hear her out. She untied you.
Yeah, for sure. But so she's she's yelling for Julie. She needs to see Julie, but Donna basically sits down with her and tells her everything that she's about to tell her, none of it's going to make sense, and it's going to be the worst conversation of her entire life. She apologizes for how they had to treat them, and she cuts her rope loose. And then like you said, she tries to make her own for it. But she said no. Donna said nobody wants to hurt her or Julie. And every single person there has been exactly in the place where Tabitha is now. I thought Donna did a really good job with kind of approaching her with all of this.
That whole scene is incredible. Yeah. It is I've said it already, but the actress that plays Donna is incredible, and that whole delivery and story is just haunting and effective.
Yeah. It really is. She starts explaining the situation in the town, and she asks her if she believes in monsters. then we cut to oh wait, is it here? Do we cut away first, or do we go back to?
I think we move down to Julie at the kitchen table.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So actually, well, I'll keep the Donna situation all together here. So basically Donna tells her this story about her sister. When they got to the town, she said she and her sister were on a hunting trip, and Donna says that her sister was like super tough, and she'd kick the teeth off a bear if she had the chance, if it looked at her sideways. And she explains to her how one of the creatures approached them, and she got out of the car, Donna's sister, and they started killing her. And
tore her face off.
Yeah, tore her face off.
Oof.
And Donna went and hid, and she hid all night long. And then several hours later, she thought her sister was dead, but her sister started screaming. So basically she was alive this whole time, and they were just torturing her. Yeah. Which is so fucked up.
Yeah. It isn't. I'm not even positive, because of what we see of what the monsters leave behind. Are they eating anything, or are they just tearing people apart?
Yeah,
it's really hard to tell.
I don't think they would be eating anything, because I feel like they would want to keep a distinct separation between the creatures and zombies, Yeah. But yeah, they just like to cause suffering. Downstairs, Victor is getting a can of peaches from the pantry where Julie's tied up. And Victor talks about peaches a lot. And
yeah.
So I know peaches are, so I looked up if there's something symbolic about peaches. Because I figure there's got to be a reason that they have him so obsessed with these canned peaches.
There seems to be an endless supply of them too. They just keep showing up instead of being depleted.
Yeah, exactly.
We grow to love Victor. He's a great character and actor, but if a dude that looked like that came up to me when I was tied up in a situation and started talking about peaches, I would have had Julie's reaction. It was deeply creepy.
Exactly. But it's in China, the peach symbolizes longevity, which I found interesting. Longevity and actually immortality.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And he is the person who's been there the longest.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was super interesting for sure. He tells Julie that two cars hadn't been seen together in a long time, and he asks her what she thinks it means. Julie's crying because she's terrified. Fatima then comes in and sends Victor away, and she tells Julie, he's creepy, but he's harmless. And she apologizes for tying them up, and she lets her go. She says they just don't want anyone to get hurt. She then brings her up to Ellis's room with his artwork, which is really cool. I thought this was interesting. She says, "I bet he'd love to draw you." And Julie says, "Why?" And she said, "'Cause you're beautiful." And Julie said, "That's not funny." I thought that was really interesting. Like,
I feel like that's just more of her like teen drama kind of, because she's very cold to Fatima at first. Like, she warms up to her after she gets her untied and everything, but
yeah.
I don't know. I also feel like Fatima and Ellis kind of give off that like couple spots you across the bar vibe just a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
They're very welcoming.
Like, if I met them in person, I would immediately be suspicious that was their thing, or they were part of a cult.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just way too kind and nice.
Friendly, welcoming. It's suspicious.
Yeah. But Fatima then shows her the window, which is her favorite place in Colony House. And she tells her, "Don't look down, look up at the sky." And she tells her, if you climb high enough, even a nightmare can resemble a dream. So back at the RV, the voice is outside. Somebody's still saying, "Hey, you should have let us help." Like, Jim is finally understanding, like, they can't get in, but he's like, "Okay, well, what happens?" He's still asking questions. And Boyd explains the talisman to him, that they can't get in, but they had never tried it in a car before.
Excuse me.
But there's a bit of a continuity error here, in my opinion, because we find out later that Boyd should have assumed that it would work in a car.
Yeah, because if it works in a cave with no door, yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, like, I mean, he was out in the open, like, basically hiding behind some branches, and they saw him. But Kristi's getting a little rattled. But Boyd's doing a good job of calming her down. They start hearing the footsteps on the roof, which is kind of freaky.
Terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah. So back at Colony House, there's some tension. Kenny is complaining to Father Kotri about them getting guns pointed at them, and Ellis tells him that they've got a room prepared for him, and Kenny and Ellis start arguing about who was to blame for almost getting stuck outside. Yeah, which I still don't totally understand why they put that down. I mean,
they put it down to stop the RV. They were going to blow the tires out on the RV, but the RV never came back around because it got in the crash. They weren't expecting the second car,
Oh, yeah. Okay. But yeah, Father Kotri kind of settles them down. So in the clinic, we've got Gina, who works there with Kenny's dad, who is just the sweetest
dad.
I know. He's just the sweetest, cutest thing in the world. She says she's not very good at chess. And he tells her, no, she's good. He's just better. And he explains to her that when he came to America, he couldn't speak English, but chess was kind of like a universal language. And then he taught Kenny how to play. And then she said, and then you taught Kenny. That's really nice. And he pauses and says, Wuhan. And she said, what? And that's Kenny's real name.
Yeah.
And Kenny basically, he wanted to be American and have an American name. He then starts speaking in Cantonese, and Gina can't understand him. Yeah, so he gets frustrated and just yells that he wants his son, and it's so sad.
Dementia in this situation is so extra cruel and like heartbreaking, and dangerous for with them needing to keep the doors closed and stuff. It's terribly sad, and that actor is so fantastic at portraying it.
Yeah, for sure.
He was breaking my heart.
I know. Oh God, I feel like he's all of our dads. He's just, he's the dad of the entire From fandom.
Fromville, yeah. The FROMily.
Yeah. But she assures him that, Kenny will be back tomorrow. So back in the RV, Kristi kind of starts. This made me so nervous because she tells them, I'm going to need you to keep him really still. And I was like, God, this is going to be impossible. And she manages to pull the table leg out of Ethan's leg.
Yeah. And it is brutal.
Yeah. And he's just screaming and crying, and I can't imagine. Oh my God.
Huge props to their set deck team, because that looked 100% real.
Yeah.
Very gross.
Sure. So back in the clinic, Sarah approaches Toby's body, and she takes out a scalpel from the drawer. She approaches his body, and she's kind of talking to herself, and she says, all of it. And she sticks the scalpel in his mouth, and it looks like she's about to cut out his tongue.
Yeah. She's definitely having an argument. Like, she doesn't want to be doing what she's doing, but there's something that seems like it's just her own mind, we don't know, telling her what to continue to do.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Yeah. And then why don't you take it away from here?
Yeah, for sure. So we move back to Colony House. Kenny and Kotri are having a drink that Ellis provided them at the kitchen table. He's talking to Kotri about basically chess and how much his dad enjoys chess, and how good a care Kristi takes of his dad and how much he appreciates it, and basically saying that after the situation from the first episode with Megan and her mom, that he's just barely hanging on and he doesn't feel like he can find any more bodies, which understandable. It seems like Kenny is in a very frail place mentally, and it's really sad.
Yeah. And oh boy, is he going to find more bodies.
I know.
But yeah, we'll get to that later.
Yeah. So then we move upstairs of Colony House, and Ellis is coming in his room and undressing without realizing that Julie is there, basically watching him.
You know what? I actually realized, I didn't realize this quite at first in episode 1, but in episode 2, I really noticed they did a great job with the casting of, oh my gosh. I just forgot the actor's name. I'm so sorry. The guy who plays Ellis. The guy who plays Ellis. I don't remember
either. Yeah, he looks like Harold Perrineau's son. He really does.
He totally does.
So handsome.
There's a strong resemblance. He could be his. He could totally pass for his son in real life.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
good looking kid.
yeah, definitely.
He asks where Fatima is. Julie says that she's gone back downstairs, and he apologizes to Julie for how rough their arrival was and the start of this experience was for them. Back in the room with Donna, this is that whole same scene we already talked about. You do find out that the Donna has been in FROMville for 3 years, and she tells Tabitha how lucky she is that it was still daylight when she showed up and that people came to help her, because that's not what everyone gets when they arrive. And I thought that's a good bit to pass on to her. We move back to the RV. Kristi is cleaning Ethan's wounds, explaining that she used to be a doctor, or she was just finished was about to go into her residency. Jim tells her that he was an engineer. He used to build roller coaster rides, theme park rides, things like that.
Just super cool.
Yes. And kind of like useful, I think, in this situation to have an engineer.
Yeah.
Ethan wakes up and he says that he's seen the Lake of Tears, and he is like, they're showing over Ethan's voiceover pictures of what we find out is Victor's room. And then all of the Lake of Tears are all of Victor's drawings of the things that are happening around town. And Victor has somehow already drawn pictures of Julie and Ethan and Tabitha and Jim without ever meeting them.
Yeah. This was so fascinating. Like, it makes me think there's got to be some really fascinating connection between Ethan and Victor.
And Victor, yeah. Back downstairs, Kenny and Cautry are very drunk. Cautry's trying to help get him upstairs, but they only make it about halfway up and stop to do some more chatting. Kenny tells the story about how his dad had gotten out another time, forgetting where he was because he has dementia, and him and his mother had to go find him. He'd gotten on a bus and gotten downtown, and as they were coming back, that's when they saw the tree. So they have been there for quite some time, dealing almost exclusively with their father's dementia, which is really sad.
Yeah.
We moved to Sarah and Nathan's house, which I want to say, I think both actors are great, but I don't think that they got the sibling note enough because they have too much chemistry. Sarah and Nathan, they're like giving off some Lannister vibes. It is like a little weird to me.
Yeah.
But Sarah is showering off of the blood. She opens the door to tell Nathan that she didn't want to do what she did, but she had to. And he sees her like bloody clothes all over the floor. Still don't think he has any idea what she did, but in for the ride. We come back to the doctor's office, mini hospital. And Gina, the nurse, is trying to comfort Kenny's dad, who's kind of having an episode and feels scared in the building. She puts him to bed, and she lets him know that she's going to go upstairs to check on Toby. But when she gets to the top of the stairs, there is Smiley.
I know.
And another one.
I thought it was really interesting what Kenny's dad said before Gina walked out the room. He's like, he points to his head. He's like, when this doesn't work, the nightmares come. Which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
It's
having like an episode when that all went down.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I'm gonna throw something heavy toward the direction of Halifax, Nova Scotia, if this all turns out to be one person's nightmare.
Agreed. I will help you launch it. Together we'll build a catapult.
Yes.
Yeah, so she tries to run, but Smiley and another monster that we have in the name, but the girl who's got like the 50s outfit on are there blocking her way. So she runs back downstairs, but you know.
So
we
creepy.
Go back to the RV. Sorry, go ahead.
So creepy. Like Smiley is just so freaking creepy, man.
That kid's always going to be scary to me.
Yeah.
Even if he's like on a wholesome sitcom, I'm not going to trust him.
For sure.
We return to the RV. Kristi is like kind of resting, and she looks up to see Jim removing the amulet from the window and asking her what it does. When a monster bursts through the roof and attacks Ethan, but then she wakes up and we realize it was thankfully just a dream.
Yeah.
No harm, no foul yet. She wakes up to discover that they have made it through the night and it's now morning, so it's safe to return. Kenny and Kotri return to the RV with Julie and Tabby. Everyone is really relieved to be back together. There's lots of hugs, no more bodies at the moment. It's a very sweet moment. Especially for me. I mean, I know we aren't that far ahead, but Tabby's relief at seeing that Jim is okay is very sweet to me. I think that's nice.
Yeah.
We go back to Sarah and Nathan's, and she is telling her brother a story of a girl who's trying to pick up shards of broken glass. She says she keeps trying to put the shards back together, but they keep cutting her. But she knows if she can get them together, she can make the thing that it will help her get out.
Sounds like the story of my life.
Yeah,
that right. the whole thing that she was talking about, I was just like, oh my God. And her hands just kept getting bloodier. I'm like, God, this sounds like the story of my life.
Struggling to piece together a glass puzzle that keeps cutting you. Yeah, that's familiar.
Yeah.
That hits home. Nathan asks her what she did, and all she says is that she left. She says she can hear the monsters, and then she says she left the door open, which takes us back to the hospital where Kenny and Kotri arrive and realize that the doors are open and immediately that something's amiss. They run downstairs and see Gina's body in the front of the basement area that was Kenny's dad's room. She's done for. They also see the wooden chess set is like scattered to the floor. The pieces are covered in blood. They've come into the back room, and that's where we find Kenny's dad, who has been pretty horrifically dismembered. I
mean, he's basically a head on top of a pile of goo.
Yeah. Really, one leg across the room, like,
yeah,
heartbreaking.
Oh,
it's so tough.
Yeah, that was really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Devastating. Kenny cradles his dad's remains and is having some really impactful, heartfelt sobbing while Kristi and Kotri look on, and you can tell Kristi is really feeling for him. They obviously have, I mean, she's been taking care of his dad for months, and they obviously have some kind of connection, so it's a hard situation for everyone. That takes us back to the top of the episode where Kenny is chopping at the tree, and we discover why now.
Yeah.
He is cutting the tree down out of rage over the loss of his father and everyone else, really. He's expressed his weakened mental state multiple times.
Yeah.
He asks Boyd where the family is. He tells them that they're at Colony House. He doesn't think they should be there, but that boy said it's just for a day. They'll figure something out about it. This is the point in where Kenny mentions the monsters don't ever run. They always walk. And he says it's because they know we don't have that many places to go. We're running out of room on the board, referencing the chessboard.
Yeah.
Which it seems like the monsters at least know, have a much better idea of what's going on than anyone else does.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Boyd returns to his office, post office, sheriff's office situation, and takes a boat key out of his desk that does it say to Boyd? There's like a buoy joke on there with his name.
Yeah, it says to Boyd. It says to Boyd with love, but it's Boyd is spelled. Yeah, it's spelled like
buoyed.
Like buoy, yeah, like a buoy in the water, with a YD at the end of it. So it's like buoyed.
That is important, but we don't know why yet.
Yeah. We know somebody loved him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's something he's holding on to from his former life.
Yeah.
To close out the episode, we have Julie telling Ethan a story. Norman has recovered. He survived. Yay. He's back from the Lake of Tears.
That was sweet. That was sweet.
Yeah, it really was. It was like the first nice thing we've seen Julie do yet. But Ethan isn't really paying attention to the story. He's staring out the window at an unspeakably creepy child dressed all in white. And the little boy that's dressed in white waves to Ethan, and Ethan waves back, and that is credits on episode 2.
Such a great episode.
Yeah. That kid is terrifying. If I saw him in any kind of clothing anywhere in the world, I would be scared of him. But for especially in that context.
And speaking of kids, I have to comment just on how fantastic the actor who plays Ethan is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not often you see a child actor that young that is that good.
Yes. I mean, he really walks that line of being both talented and adorable and precocious. He's not coasting on being cute. He's a very good actor.
Yeah, he really is. The casting department just killed it with the show.
They seriously did.
So, Marjorie's got some comments here. Will we ever get backstories on the monsters like before they changed? They were people before, right? I think we will. What do you think?
I hope so. I really want to know what they are, not to have any spoilers, but what we have learned about them is not much, and their insides don't seem to be super humanoid, but I'm guessing that they had to have been people at first, right? I don't know. I'm not sure. I really hope we get that information.
That's what I think, but we find out some more information about them in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
That is a little bit more a little bit more supernatural in a different kind of direction. But I kind of think, so we did get we got a sliver of a backstory in season 2, but it was a sliver.
Yeah.
I do think they were people. And the fact that they all look like they're, most of them are dressed like it's the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
I think that must have been the last time that place was a real town.
That makes sense.
Those might have been the original residents.
That's a great theory.
Yeah, that's what, because I just, there's not much of a, I can't figure out why everybody would be kind of dressed in the same period
type
of style, But yeah, so I hope, I do think, I can't imagine that they won't go back to, when FROMville was an actual town at some point. I'm sure they'll show us. I'm sure they'll show us something.
I'm very excited to see that.
Yeah. And I have a feeling that Jade might be the reincarnation of one of the original residents.
Ooh, that's a good theory.
And I'm not going to get too into it. I'm not going to get into it yet because, like, you know, we're still on episode 2. But yeah, there's a whole, I've got this whole theory about that. So do you think the sister is fake? No, I think she was telling the truth. I think she was telling the truth about her sister.
Donna's sister?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a real story.
I think there's something suspicious about Donna that we haven't learned yet, but I don't think it's like bad suspicious. I think it's more
I feel like Donna's so invested in like everyone's survival.
Yeah.
I have a hard time feeling like she's a bad guy, but I
don't think she is. I really don't think she is. I just have a feeling that my suspicion with her is that I think that she knows exactly what is going on.
Oh.
I think Donna has all the answers and just for whatever reason can't reveal them. Peaches and pancakes. Okay, so I told you I wanted to talk about this.
Oh, you did, and I already forgot.
So Wild Marjoram says, what do you think about the opening credits imagery and that Pixies cover? Yeah, as I mentioned last week, it took me several episodes before I like realized that was the Pixies. I had I had no idea. Which is super cool. But the opening credits. Okay, so I haven't studied all of them in depth, like all of the credits in depth that much, but you know, the one thing that really stands out is that newspaper article that there's a drawing on, just because it's like you want to pause it and see what it says, right? So I started Googling some of the things in the newspaper article, and it seems to be from the late 1800s. And it seems to, okay, I am going to be really massacring some names here. But it seems to be about this Sergei Degaev, who was a political terrorist in Tsarist Russia. He disappeared after participating in the assassination of the chief of Russia's security organization in 1883, and then moved to South Dakota, and he became a mathematics professor at University of South Dakota. But this particular part of the story seems to be focusing on a Lieutenant Colonel Sudekin. So it's, I want to find out more about this, but it also, there was also something in there about Abbeville, South Carolina, which is super interesting because Abbeville, South Carolina was the birthplace and death place of the Civil War. Or of the Confederacy. Which is super fascinating to me.
Yeah. Because there are some of those guys that are wearing like Civil War outfits.
Yeah.
I feel like
there's definitely a heavy Civil War connection with this show, for sure. And you know, we don't know where this town is because everybody, you know, was coming from all over, and it seems to be just like the town just exists in a different universe. But I think it was originally a town, and if we do get a backstory on it, then I think we'll probably find out that it's in the South.
That makes sense to me.
Maybe Abbeville, South Carolina. You know, that would be
the style of the houses and the look of the town feel very Southern to me.
Yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of it. Yeah, I mean, there are some years that like come up. I mean, not just in that article, but in other places in the show that reference like when the Civil War was going on, the time that the Civil War was going on. So yeah, there's definitely some. There's a YouTube channel, Real Enigmas and Theories. And now this guy's intense. But he's also, have you checked out his channel yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
But I'm excited to.
He's intense, man. But he's super smart. And I had to appreciate that he laughed at himself a bit, because he was talking about how people in the comments were saying that he was reaching on certain things. And so in another episode, he introduced the channel as Reach Enigmas and Theories, which I thought was funny. But I mean, like, I have trouble even following him half the time, because I feel like he's just talking over my head. Like, he's smart enough that like I can't tell if what he's saying is just really reaching or if it actually has some merit, you know. But but a lot of the stuff that he says, though, like, it just makes so much sense and is so fascinating, the stuff that this guy picks up on. And it's Real, REEL, Enigmas and Theories. He also mentioned that he thinks it's tied to the Civil War as well.
That makes
so I thought that was, yeah. So I thought that was when I heard that, like, my ears perked up, because I was like, I had just been looking at this article and it's in the credits. So I think that's really interesting.
That is exciting to look into.
Ethan ends up holding some grudges, and he's so creepy. I think he really only holds like one grudge, and it's kind of justified, but we can't talk about that yet.
It's a little ahead.
Can they make more monsters? That's what I'm wondering. I don't think so. I think these are the original townspeople. I think these are the original townspeople, and you know, we see others dressed from different time periods that are just like, you know, hallucinations, but everybody seems to be dressed like they're from the 50s.
For the most part.
Yeah. But the chess game theory, I don't think I've heard about that. But yeah. The 3-hour essay. I don't think that was him. I think that was someone else, because I remember seeing an episode that was like 3 hours. I'm like, okay, I can't, like, that's a little too much.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Yeah.
I'm sure it's great, but I'm like, I can't. My attention span is too short for me to even like put that in my watch later and like, you know, just
Same.
absorb in like bite-sized pieces. Like I can't even though I've recorded some crazy long episodes myself, I'm fully admitting that it's completely shitty that I would say that, considering the length of some of my episodes, but
no, I'm
just being honest. But yeah, I think that the credits are really interesting. I think that there's a connection between Ethan and Victor. I even suggested to you that, like, what if Victor is Ethan, like from the future or whatever?
That would be some, like, have you ever seen Dark on Netflix?
No.
The series Dark. It's a trip. But that's like a time travel show, and you find out like half the characters are their own dads, and it's very the family tree gets wild, but that's what that reminds me of.
Wow.
Like one character sees himself in the future but doesn't realize it's him, and yeah.
Now, you know, one thing that I did notice, and I've noticed this in several episodes of this show, they seem to, like, there are a few scenes where they seem to have forgotten to take something out in the background, like a building or whatever, that's obviously not part of the town. Like, there's a yellow church, looks like. Obviously that's not part of the town because they've got that little, otherwise, you know, if it were, they wouldn't be using that little stone chapel. But yeah, so it's kind of funny because, like, you can see it every once in a while. But and then like you'll see it in the background, and then in the next shot it's gone. It's mysteriously gone.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Continuity.
Because, like, yeah.
Some scripty is not doing their job.
But yeah, it's they're very fond of the color blue for this show. Extremely fond of the color blue. There are a lot of stripes. But yeah, Tabitha seems to always be wearing white, from what I've noticed. And I mean, it might.
Well, I don't want to get ahead.
No, I mean, I might. Episode. It might not be like every single episode, but it seems like every time. Like, I've been looking for it, and every episode that I've watched a few episodes, or several episodes in a row, and she seems to always be wearing white.
I like thinking about it. I think you're right.
Yeah. And so that's obviously deliberate. What it means, I have no idea. But it's, yeah, I've been paying attention to what people are wearing. And it seems like primary colors are kind of the thing, like red, blue, and yellow. And that's it.
Yeah.
But then you go to Colony House and it's like, it's totally different. It's like all over the place. Yeah, so it's really interesting. I also just want to say, like, man, Boyd is such a great leader. You know?
He's excellent.
Yeah, he's like, that is exactly the kind of guy that you would want, like,
in that situation.
Yeah, in any kind of bad situation where you needed to like look to somebody for something, you know, like he is totally the guy you want with you.
Did you have an MVP and LVP for this episode?
Gosh, you know what I did? MVP. I mean, I think I got to give it to Kristi.
Yeah. That was mine too.
Yeah, I mean, she did such a great job with Ethan. LVP. Gosh. Man, that one's a tough one. Maybe I'll give that to Trudy.
Earned. Deserved.
Well, no, actually, no. I mean, I guess I got to give it to Sarah.
That's mine. Yeah.
That's kind of
my MVPs are Kristi for obviously being an incredible hero, and Donna for handling that situation the best she possibly could have, I think. And then my LVP is Sarah, because come on, girl. I mean, we know there's something more going on there, but Kenny's dad.
I know. Justice for Kenny's dad.
Justice.
Oh God. I love that whole family so much.
They're very cute.
Sad. Yeah. All right. Well, guys, we are I said last week that we probably were not going to be doing lives most of the time, but we talked about it, and I think we're gonna keep it like this. FROMily Fridays. Come and chat with us.
Join the FROMily.
Yes, exactly. And follow us on social media. We are at Cyborg Queen Media on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and we're on Lemonade too, actually now. Haven't really used it, but we got on there just in case TikTok went away.
Smart.
And we on X, we are Cyborg Queen TV because Elon won't let me have enough characters for media. So we're Cyborg Queen TV on X. We're also on Tumblr at Cyborg Queen Media. We're everywhere. But if you are listening to this, you can check out our YouTube channel and participate in our live chats on Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern time. We are at youtube.com/@CyborgQueenMedia. And we are also at Cyborg Queen 2. So both channels. The ones on Cyborg Queen 2, the episodes will stay up. The ones on Cyborg on the main channel will only stay up if they get enough views. But you know, it's the audience is still pretty small right now. We're just starting out, so I'm not expecting a ton of views, but they will stay up permanently on the Cyborg Queen 2 channel. If you are watching this, you can also find the audio version wherever you listen to podcasts. That is it for us for this week. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Wild Marjoram, thanks for popping in as always. Kaiwan, it was great to see you. And we will see you next week.
Have a good one.
And we will have we'll even have a I promise we'll have a theme, an opening by then. Bye, guys.
Bye.